Hello, welcome to Chopped Greens. It is another edition. It's a Monday edition. So got to get over that weekend hurdle. I am here sitting with guest host Luke Wright. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. How was your weekend, man?
It was good. I was on the radio again. I had a nice, swell little weekend.
All right. Yeah. You worked?
Yeah, I ended up working a couple nights.
On that grind, as they say?
Always on the grind.
Always grinding.
Always on the grind.
What are we grinding to? Is that like a figure
know.
to grind to like
death?
some sort of like imperfect diamond inside of us that needs to be grind and shined to or something? That's all I can imagine it
I just
being.
imagine...
Maybe like we're swords and we're grinding to be the perfect sword.
No, I think it's just a grind to death.
Just a grind till you're eventually dead.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Grinding yourself into tiny little pieces until there's nothing left.
Well, that's funny that you say till death, because we're going to be talking today about a couple teams that are now dead theoretically. Or I guess not theoretically.
Figuratively.
Figuratively is probably the better term there. We've got 4 games concluded finally in the western side of the bracket of the NBA playoffs.
Finally done with the first round.
Finally done, which is not a bad thing. I like long series. I like long conclusions to get to where we all thought it would anyways.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about foregone conclusions. Something that did not take long was the Golden State Warriors Portland Trailblazers series. That ended in 4 games. The closest game was the first one, where even though all of them were blowouts, all of the 4 games there were blowouts, the first one was the most competitive game. Thoughts, Luke?
I mean, in the end, I think this series went exactly how everyone thought it would. Portland just does not have enough weapons. Nurkic was out for pretty much all of the series. I think he only came back in like the last game.
And even then, in the first quarter of that last game, Golden State 45 points to Portland's 22. I mean, that's just insane to score 45 points in a quarter.
It's just, it wasn't a good series to begin with. There weren't very good matchups for Portland. They're a young team. They're still on the up and up. Hopefully, they'll be able to make some sort of move in free agency. I mean, if you really think about it, this team had to do an immediate rebuild
After LaMarcus Aldridge?
after every single person of their starting 5 except for Damian Lillard left.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that happened and they still are able to secure playoff spots is kind of impressive to me. So I think once they're able to develop and get another... maybe another wing will help them a lot, getting a solid power forward.
Well, they were the benefactors of the Denver Nuggets having 2 premier centers, right? The Jokic is the younger option between Jokic and Nurkic. And so then when they were able to acquire him from the Denver Nuggets midseason, that's when their whole season went up. They weren't really in contention for that 8th seed until after they acquired him. They were able to squeeze out into that 8th spot, having a full season with Nurkic now, and maybe being able to acquire some mid-level free agents. I don't think that they can really get anybody, and to be honest with you, all those top free agents that are going to be out there, theoretically LeBron James, theoretically Stephen Curry, theoretically Kevin Durant, none of those are coming to. None of them are coming to Portland.
No one thinks, man, I can go to Portland,
and which is so sad because it's such a beautiful place. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
I've never been there, so
Okay. But yeah, 128-103, the final game 4 in this series. When we go down all the stat lines here, nothing really stands out outside of. Just Steph Curry doing what he does, 7 out of 11. He's going to the full gas station, 7-Eleven. That's how good he was from 3-point. Thank you. That's how good he was from 3-point range. And now that they move on to who's their next opponent? It's the Jazz.
Yes.
The Jazz. And I don't know if you've seen it, but the money line. Have you seen the money line?
I have not.
So the money line for the Warriors is minus 1,000. So you got to put down $1,000 to win $1.
To win 100.
Yes, correct. 100. I'm sorry. and then the Golden State Warriors are 2,000 plus.
You mean the Jazz?
The Jazz
are plus 2,000?
Yes.
To win the series?
To win the series. They'll win the series. Not game one. No game individually, but to win the series.
I might drop $10 on the Jazz just for the odds.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is it better to bet $10 on the Jazz, or are you just as well to use your $10 bill as an emergency butt wiper?
I'd throw $10 on the Jazz.
Hoping that 4 of the Golden State Warriors players get injured?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, don't hope for injury, but that's about the only way that series could go any other way. Going to the Spurs and Grizzlies. Now, this was far more competitive than the first 2 games would indicate. To be honest with you, when the Grizzlies came out of the gate, they just looked outmatched in that first game, kind of bringing things more to a competitive edge and competitive evenness in that second game. Then when they got to their home court, totally just evened the series out, 2-2 in the second game in an overtime game. David Fizdale taking public comment, asking if anybody knew how to guard Kawhi. He's taking suggestions. And I think that really Kawhi is just too good at this point. I mean, we all think of him as a top player. It kind of depends on where you put him nowadays. But is this how you saw this series going? Did you think of it more as a sweep?
I thought all 4 games would be competitive. That San Antonio would win. Maybe a 5th game, I think, is what I might have put down on the on our brackets, on our bracket challenge. Mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting it to go the way it did, but I was expecting the Spurs to win. So, I mean, overall, I'm not surprised. Memphis has always been a tough team. Zach Randolph turned back the clock for a couple of those games and put the team on his back. Mike Conley proved that he's still one of the most underrated point guards in the entire league. I know that we've been saying that about him for literally a decade now, it seems.
Well, I've always thought Mike Conley is one of those players of the Patrick Beverley mold, of the just underachieved, well, not underachieving, excuse me, but more of that underutilized point guard. Of when we think of that stereotypical point guard, there's other players that get more shine, more luster. And really, Mike Conley just goes out and does work. He will work you for all of what was it? Kawhi Leonard had altogether 29 points. Tony Parker got 27. Man, they had to work so hard for every single point, every single possession. Mike Conley will just go out there, get his minutes, defensively rough you up, and really set the tone as the foreman of the whole entire Memphis Grizzlies organization, really, because they all really have that mental toughness aspect going for their team that they bring into you game in, game out.
Yeah, and it's something that they've always had, even though they've changed coaches a couple times in the past 7 or 8 years. I think they're only on their third coach. For some teams, that's a miracle. But every coach seems to always bring that toughness to Memphis. So they've been good at picking their coaches, and I'm really interested to see how Fizdale does going forward.
As a sociological aspect of this game, Pau Gasol versus Marc Gasol, does that make it that much harder at Thanksgiving dinner to go home and say, amigo, compadre, you knocked me out of the playoffs. I hate you. Pass the mashed potatoes. No?
First of all, I don't think either of them have that kind of accent.
They're Spanish. They're Spaniards, proud Spaniards.
Pretty sure you tried doing like a Mexican accent, which is not the same.
Ole, Holmes. I'm from España. Please.
We're going to move on.
Pass the tortillas.
No, because I'm pretty sure Pal has eliminated Mark.
As a Laker from the grid. Well,
I think. I'm not 100.
We'd have to go back and look and do some research, you know.
I don't know why a gargling, choking sound would be our research sound, but okay.
We are forcing somebody to choke and twist the numbers to fit our needs. Didn't you know that you can torture numbers to suit whatever you need them to be?
I'm not 100%, but I do think that Powell has probably eliminated Mark before.
Who eliminated the Lakers that last year of Phil Jackson? Was that the Mavericks? Because it was a blue team. In my head, I'm seeing blue. Azul, as Pau Gasol would say.
I'm not sure.
It sounds correct, though, the Mavericks, right?
2011 would be?
Yes. And that was the year the Mavericks won. So it had to be that.
Yeah, it was. Because it was...
And they got nearly swept. I think it was like a 5-game sweep. And everybody was expecting them to go back to the finals. That was the year they were hoping...
To go for the second three-peat.
Yeah. So that sounds sorely right. So I'm trying to think if the Grizzlies and Marc Gasol have ever met a Pau Gasol team. I know that obviously they didn't with the Chicago Bulls for that, what was it, a year or so with Pau Gasol. Of course, he's coming off the bench for 20 minutes, giving you a good, solid 20 minutes. In this last specific game, Game 6, shooting 0 from 6, 0 for 1 from three-point range. Not a very good offensive juggernaut there, but overall he gives you a big presence of scoring that you have to respect.
7-footer you can run an offense through, he can pass, he can shoot out to three normally.
And he's got that size, that traditional size that you need. Whenever they put LaMarcus Aldridge at the 5, even though he's not a traditional 5, he still offers you offensive output. But when you put Pau Gasol in there with LaMarcus Aldridge and take out David Lee, you got Twin Towers, baby. Can't get rid of that. Speaking of European players who are on a roll, Houston's point guard, Patrick Beverley, who played, little did you know, in Russia, I believe, is now a part of the team advancing to the next round of the playoffs. Yes, the Thunder have gone past the Oklahoma City Thunder, the 2B MVP of the league, of the regular season, I suppose, the OKC Thunder, Russell Westbrook. Even though he recorded a couple triple-doubles in this series, proves to be just a little short, as they all say. Just a little short.
I'm not really surprised.
No, who is? But go ahead and then let's hear it.
I mean, I think this series played out exactly how people thought. Westbrook would be able to dominate when he was in, and then the literal second he went out, Houston just had too many good players, and they would go on runs, and they'd use those runs to sustain them in the fourth quarter when Russell would come back, and Russell would always be tired because Russell's been averaging a triple-double all year and has... I'm surprised that Westbrook isn't already scheduled for back surgery after having to put that team on his back all year.
Yeah, really, the only person who had the runs was Russell Westbrook. Look at this. 15 out of 34. That's for the regular field goal percentage. And then from three-point range, 5 out of 18.
And I'm sure probably he went 1 of 10 in the last quarter. Because that was what he was doing, is he was too tired to continue to drive.
Yes,
and then he would start jacking up threes, which were awful.
And let's see, Taj Gibson only got 7 attempts. Robertson only got 7 attempts himself. Oh, hey, Victor Oladipo got 17. There's a record. My point, of course, being Russell Westbrook, even though it looks pretty at the end of it, 47 points. Woo. Just like Patrick Beverley said, took you 40 attempts to get to 40. He's like, they said that while on the court, Patrick Beverley said that Russell Westbrook was talking, was gabbing it up, saying, I control this league. I can score 40 on anybody. Patrick Beverley just nodded, just said, yeah, took you 40 shots to get there, but congratulations.
Yeah, and it's something that I think you're going to see the next 5 to 6 years in Oklahoma City.
Oh, God bless him.
Because he cannot back down. He has to stay in OKC. And he's going to sign the contract.
Well, he already signed a contract. He already signed it last offseason.
No, he's eligible for the contract this upcoming offseason for $200 million.
It's that whole making it first NBA team. You get that additional $60 million.
Yes.
Bonus. Yes.
And no one's gonna want to come to OKC. At least no top tier talents that will push them over the edge.
You might be able to get someone of the Lou Williams
if you're willing to pay enough.
Oh yeah, and even then, well, my question would be: would you get somebody, because really we always hear rumors, and the only way really to get top tier talent in the league is to either get them on the decline or to get them before they're even fully realized. So would you be willing, if some breaks were to go the right way, if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, are you willing to trade for Isaiah Thomas?
I am no, for a couple reasons. In general, there's no way that Oklahoma City has assets to trade for Isaiah Thomas.
Okay.
IT is loved in Boston right now. They love him in Boston. And two, if I get Isaiah Thomas, that will be a horrible idea because now I have 2 point guards who need the ball in their hands 24/7, and Isaiah's not going to the bench.
No, he's not going back there after Sacramento, after Phoenix.
And I just think that that'd be a horrible combination with the two. Westbrook would want the ball all the time. Isaiah would want the ball all the time.
As an aside, then, where would you place Isaiah Thomas? Because rumor has it that after his current contract ends, which is very reasonable, it's a very reasonable contract, after it ends within the next 2 years, that he's going to be demanding, and understandably so, he's going to be demanding the max, or whatever it is, the max amount eligible to him. And the Celtics love him, of course, but it's at the current value, that they're getting an overvalue right now. Paying him the max would seem at a depreciation there, and that they aren't willing to go that far. How does that settle out?
We're in the point in time where you give 2 to 3 players the max. With the whole salary cap and everything, you can give 2 or 3 players the max
without it hurting you too much,
and still sign other players. I think they'll be willing to give Isaiah Thomas the max.
Well, then, but explain the Kobe's of the world. If he signs for the max, they are uneligible to get enough assets there to build a championship rosters. Incoming free agents know this. People pending free agency know this because. Even though, everybody's chirping around the league, everybody's going around and they're saying, hey, while they play games and they go to, so let's say LeBron James goes to Toronto. He talks to Kyle Lowry after the game, says, hey, man, we'd really love you on the Heat. We'd really love you on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Depending on that, that's how conversations get going. I mean, if you go and, as a Celtics fan, you're there and Isaiah Thomas is your number one. As great as Isaiah Thomas is, that's not a true number one. That's not a true championship contending centerpiece for you to build your team around.
Okay.
Well, but I'm saying if you're Isaiah Thomas, really you have to almost realize, and it's unfortunate of how it's really evolved, because then it puts the onus on the players and not the owners in the team leagues, but you have to almost pull that Tim Duncan role where you're trading in that notoriety and that branding opportunity in exchange for winning, because you cannot, the two are mutually exclusive of signing for the max and winning. Those two are mutually exclusive. You cannot get one without the other. It's very hard to find examples of that out. Of course, LeBron, but if
Kevin Durant with the Warriors if they win this year.
But Stephen Curry's not doing it. He's not winning with a max.
Yeah, but they could. When Curry's
eligible
up this year, for the extension.
But when they come up this year,
because they'll give him the max.
They will, of course. Him and Durant are the only two that are guaranteed to get the max. Clay, not sure. Draymond, not sure. Because you have to eventually pick somebody. You're going to be so far above the luxury cap and the hard cap limit. It's going to be hard to come back down to earth eventually.
But getting back to the topic, Boston's nowhere close to that. Boston doesn't need to make that decision right now. Right now they have IT. They've proven with IT they can at least get to the number 1 seed in the East. you can
It's
afford.
a little bit of a bloated standing, though.
It is, but you're proving that you can at least hang with the top seeds in the East. And
by losing two games to the Bulls?
With Rondo playing out of his mind, as soon as
if
everything's
he stays healthy,
settled down,
stays healthy, don't you think that they win that series? I fully
maybe.
Maybe.
I still think that there was a possibility that Isaiah Thomas and everyone was still able to rally around. But yeah, you would have probably had a 7-game series for sure. In general, though, I mean, Boston doesn't need to make that kind of decision for a while, especially because that's implying...
Well, for 2 years in the NBA, that's not a while. That's
okay, but even after they give him a max, they can still sign other people to maxes. They can still go out and get another number one.
Keep in mind they have Al Horford already for a max too. I mean, you're just not able to fully build that team with at least 3 to 4 stars, which is what you need. Even when we think of the big three in Boston, who really started this tradition of big threes, there's also Rondo on there. And say what you will about Rondo, but especially at those earlier points when they were in a championship window, he really sufficed his role, and because he knew of who he was and where that contract was, he wasn't demanding of a monetary upload, right? So he didn't demand the ball because he knew his place. He was 4th on that pecking order, and when you get to that point, it's kind of hard to manage salaries versus talent, because eventually you have to go now to the Warriors are demanding more of Ish Smith, right? Because he's taking up that secondary role.
You'll start to see what we already see with LeBron in Cleveland, with people in the Warriors. People will take less if they think that the team is in a good spot to be to compete for a title. And we also keep making this assumption that somehow LeBron and Durant and Curry and all of these big name teams will somehow be able to beat Father Time forever. Like, LeBron, realistically, with all the minutes he has, he's going to be gone and out of this league within the next 6 years, I think.
Well, that's being actually very generous. I was going to say 4 years.
No, I think he's going to be out of the league in 6, but he won't be at this level. And he's going to he's going down. Well, he's already hit his peak.
I think he's going to be out of the league within 4. He's one of those players that strikes me as a branding person more than a player, and it's a duality there, but I don't think we're going to be able to see him in that Michael Jordan Wizards role where he's not to the top of his powers. I think I think we've talked about this before with Kobe walking off with tearing his Achilles. That's the perfect time to cut it if you're Kobe. In my opinion, you don't have those additional 2 to 3 years of losing and adding stink to the end of your resume with people like me having now ammo to rain down on Kobe.
But like the point I was making was, you keep making this assumption, and not just you, but people in general make this assumption like this is a common theme in NBA history. And while in some aspects it is.
Well, it's becoming the new norm.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Because it happened twice?
It's happened 3 times. Are you saying the big free agent going to and joining and making a super team?
And winning multiple championships.
Multiple championships, and that's kind of cutting your...
Actually, multiple championships, it's only happened once.
You're saying the Heat?
Yeah, they're the only super team.
Think of the Lakers, back in the Showtime Lakers. They had on that floor, I believe, 5 first-round picks at the time, and even though some of them were natural picks, they were still getting in new
But
players.
They were also battling against people like Tim Duncan and the Spurs. Detroit Pistons in the East won against them.
What's your point there?
They're bad. My point is, when this season started, who was in the finals?
But like, who did we assume was going to be? Well, the Warriors and the Cavs.
Last year, who did we assume was going to be in the finals?
Warriors and the Cavs.
The year before that, it was a little bit iffy, but we still had people saying...
Well, no, we didn't. No. The year before that...
Let me finish my thought. Uh-huh. The year before that, we knew it was going to be LeBron's team.
Right.
And then in the West, we were kind of like, this is more... Yeah, we were thinking Spurs. As the playoffs and season went on, we had a little more wiggle room, but most people thought Spurs. Mm-hmm. Back then, I don't think it was a foregone conclusion Lakers will be there. You had Lakers or Spurs, or for a couple of years, even the Kings with Chris Webber. So to me, it's different because those were super teams, yes, but one, you didn't have the big three. You typically had Shaq, Kobe, and while, yes, they had other first-round picks, you had Derek Fisher was your starting point guard. You didn't have 3 of the top 5 best players in the league. Like, we're starting 3 of the top 10 best players. Like, we're starting to see now. And so my point that I'm making is this whole era of big threes is just now started. Boston only won once. I think they only went twice.
They went twice. They were close. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals 4 out of those 5 years, I believe.
And yeah, but that's my point is Boston, yes, they won the ring, and you can consider that a success because I do consider that big three to be a success. Mm-hmm. But really, other than, Miami won twice.
Went 4 times.
Went 4 times, but won the twice. And we're just now seeing the big three in
Cleveland,
and they've won once. And then even in Warriors, I'm not sure if I consider Curry, Green, and Thompson a big three. Now I kind of consider it a big three, but by combining Green and Thompson into one person.
That's very interesting that you would.
But see, that's what I'm saying is I don't think we have enough evidence to make the assumption that going forward, this will be the new norm. Because LeBron James is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Like we just said, the Warriors are not going to be able to keep everybody on that team. They will have to give up. And when they have to give up, that means eventually that team will become beatable.
All right, well, let's be honest here, right? The only reason why the Warriors, as we now know them, exist is wholeheartedly in the pursuit of taking down LeBron James. It's actually, in a weird way, it's showing respect to LeBron that Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, all individually sit back and realize to themselves, we've got 3 out of the best, say, out of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, we have 3 out of the best 10, let's say, 10 NBA players in the league. And that's still not enough. That's still not enough to take down LeBron. We still lost in 7 games, and we're probably going to lose earlier in the next series because it's only going to get worse because as soon as LeBron figures it out, you're done. So Kevin Durant, same thing. He doesn't go to the eastern side of the bracket because he doesn't want to face LeBron. And he realizes with just Russell Westbrook, it's not enough. So what do? They join 4 forces together to finally get together and beat that dragon that is LeBron James. He is the Sleeping Beauty dragon. He will take you down. He can build up little trees and blow fire on you. He will knock you 7 different ways till Sunday if it's him and he's got 2 other bona fide superstars behind him. Nobody can beat him. So now let's try it with 4. We need 4. And we don't know if that's going to be successful. We assume that's enough. But really, it's a testament to LeBron James's prowess and legacy that they needed 4. They needed the best team of all time that we've ever seen, as close to an all-star team in person ever on one team in order to beat him. And I think that's absolutely amazing that he's that good and he's that talented to demand that kind of respect, really.
Mm-hmm. But let's get back to our recaps here because we've spent 20 minutes on this tangent.
Yes, of course we did.
So
so speaking of what do we do after this season is done, the Jazz and Clippers. All respect to the Jazz, God bless you, you won in 7 games. I mean, to be fair, they both won and lost the exact same amount of games, really, the Clippers taking the home court just off of tiebreakers. But I don't really want to spend too much time on the Jazz. The Clippers. They're the sexy, quote-unquote, sexy team. Where do they go from here, Luke? Where do they rebuild? Do they trade away? Do they not sign? How do you see for the offseason of the Clippers?
To me, it depends on a couple things.
Okay, let's go down those mitigating factors.
Yes. 1, do you want to keep relying on an ever getting older Chris Paul? Or 2, do you want to rely on the ever injury-prone Blake Griffin? And 3, do you not want to rely on either, trade both away in some sort of sign and trade, and start fresh all over? To me, those are your 3 options right now. Because you have proven time and time and time
But Luke.
again, that
what
this
could they
isn't
have
working.
done this year with Blake Griffin? Who knows what they could have done with Blake Griffin this year if he doesn't get injured?
Then commit to Blake Griffin, send CP3 packing, and use the money you would have spent on him on a mid-tier point guard and somebody. Spend that money on Jimmy Butler. Everyone keeps talking, or Paul George. Paul George wants to come home to LA. Everyone assumes it's the Lakers, but what's wrong with being the face of the Clippers?
You be the Chicago Bulls. I'll be the Clippers. Hey, how you doing? I've got a little trade for you. All right, you ready to listen there, Luke Bull?
Okay.
All right, I've got this guy. You might have heard of him. All he does is lob dunk. Blake Griffin. I got a problem. I can't seem to win with him. I'd like to trade you, him, and any other team member of his not named Paul or Jordan for that Butler guy down there, that guy who needs a Batman. Who do you who says no in that scenario? Who says no? Is it the Clippers who say no to trading the Blake Griffin, or is it and anybody else to make the contracts kind of work, or playoff or picks or something, or is it the Bulls?
I'd say Clippers, just because I don't think that the Clippers. Honestly, I think that's a bad trade for both teams.
Really?
And no, the Bulls I think probably take it, especially if they can pick anybody else from the roster besides Chris Paul or DeAndre Jordan. And that's the thing, though, is you're not necessarily going to 100% guarantee being able to trade. Chris Paul might leave in free agency, because I don't know if you want to give him as much money as you're going to have to give him, because he is getting older. And while, yes, he is still a good point guard, he cannot carry. I actually saw the stat right before we started the podcast. He's played in 71 playoff games without making a Western Conference final, which is the most in NBA history.
And you know what's crazy is I don't blame him for that. He's one of the few players that...
No, I don't, because he always tries his hardest. He always elevates his teams, but just for whatever reason, he cannot elevate the team to a Western Conference Finals.
And I feel the players are the only people that can use the injury bug as an excuse. Chris Paul actually legitimately can say, I wasn't either I wasn't on the floor, or some of my best teammates weren't on the floor. Mm-hmm. And really, if you contextualize it, a lot of the teams that he lost to went far. It's abnormal.
Yeah, he would lose to the Lakers with Kobe. He'd lose to the Spurs with Duncan. It wasn't like he was losing to dead. He wasn't pulling what he was pulling.
The only team
now.
I can really say with conviction was a bad team to lose to was the Rockets last year. Or was it 2 years ago? Whenever he lost it and they had that 3-1 lead and they lost to him.
2015.
Yeah, and that was a bad loss.
Because you were up 3-1.
3-1 to a Rockets team that I believe got swept, right, in the Western Conference Finals.
I believe so.
Regardless, it was a bad loss, and it was not characteristic of a champion, and it really just put forth that Clippers curse that has remained there that they weren't able to break. And like you said, I think that you have to decide who are you putting your chips in with, and really, who has the most trade value? Because even if you sign Blake Griffin, even if you sign Chris Paul and all them, at some point you got to sell your constituents, your fan base. And I believe due to trading laws, you can't sign somebody outside of an initial sign and trade. You can't trade them before December 15th or something like that.
Yeah.
So you have to stick with them theoretically until December 15th. If you just normally sign them and then are saying midway half season, we're going to change course here. So I think somehow, some way, they've got to either remove a piece, trade it out with somebody else. I don't know if it's just go with somebody else's lost luster star. I don't know if it's just trading away everything and completely rebuilding. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just even getting rid of Doc Rivers and having him go down to Orlando and just starting fresh. That's going to be one of the more interesting off seasons to watch, because even if they don't do anything, it's a story, because it says to me that they are content with mediocrity, and that is something that to me would be unacceptable as a fan base.
You can only ram your head into the wall so many times before you realize, ow. And I hope that this is the year that the Clippers, and here's the thing is, every year they always find one aspect to think, oh, but we were we almost beat Utah. If Blake hadn't got hurt, well, either way, you weren't beating Golden State in the next round. And I think we have to look at this beyond just the star players, because we do give Blake and Chris all of the blame. I was looking at his stats the last 3 postseasons. Jamal Crawford has been absolute trash. He's been shooting 22 from 3-point. He's been averaging less than 14 points a game. This is the guy who the last 3 postseasons has been absolutely no help to the Clippers. And I think that that's also very telling, is everyone assumed that he would be the one leading the bench, and in the end they've had to rely on other people from the bench, and those people just aren't suited for those roles, especially because they don't fully understand that that's their role until it happens.
Yeah, and in the past that's really been a huge factor for them to say, well, that's one reason why we haven't won. We don't have a bench. Well, technically, Jamal Crawford winning Sixth Man of the Year a couple of those years should, in a sense, constitute a bench. If you have a Sixth Man of the Year candidate, really, he should be the leader of your bench unit and lead that unit to be respectable. And, his plus-minus was -3 in the last game that they played against the Jazz. Even though he scored 20 points, he still has a turnover and goes 1 for 4 out of the 3-point range. Only shoots 50% from the field, 8 out of 16. Just not going to cover it. Astute point by you, Luke. I will give that to you. Jamal Crawford just needs to do more. And really, with I believe his contract's coming up too, right? Or is it?
Mm-hmm. If I'm Clippers, I let him go. I let him walk.
He's going to be really expensive.
I let him walk. Pierce is retiring.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that.
Raymond Felton, I let control the reins a little bit more. I go out and I sign free agents.
J.J. Redick do anything for you?
I don't mind. I think he's a good starting shooting guard, especially considering who you as a team understand that J.J. Redick's role is to play defense and hit threes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fine if that's what you go into the season thinking.
As long as he knows his role and you know his role, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk more about the Clippers as the offseason comes closer and free agency starts, the draft
comes up.
Because really that's when a lot of these trades happen. More with the NBA than other teams. When these big events happen, that's when most of the trades go down. So, you know what else is going down though right now?
What?
And it's not going down in any DM. The Give Me 5. Today's Give Me 5 section. That's right. I know, I can see it in your heart that you are so excited for this.
Oh, I'm pretty excited.
Oh, yes. I am going to beat you like a Navajo drum in this section of Give Me 5. Are you ready?
It was a good movie. It's Cherokee drum, but...
We'll be back after this. After a word from our sponsor. Time for some personal rejuvenation? Visit Aquarius Salon's award-winning stylists and get ready for summer. They do color, cuts, and highlights for your everyday wear, as well as services for proms, weddings, or any special events you have scheduled. Visit Aquarius on the northeast corner of Bell and 51st. Call 602-978-1774 for your appointment. Again, that's 602-978-1774 on the northeast corner of Bell and 51st. And tell them Philip from Chopped Green sent you. And we're back. I am so excited for this Give Me 5. I had to write them all yesterday, and in spite of what you may think, I was able to find some happy stories because this past weekend it was all pretty pretty downhill. I mean, I've got some later for Gary that are pretty depressing, but I gave you the happy stuff.
Well, I'm happy about that.
I figured you would. I knew that you needed a lifter this early in the morning because full disclosure here, we are here grinding it out in the early morning. Again, grinding it out in the early morning
to death.
To death, as people would say, to death. And that parking hustle is no joke. I'm trying to get all like the terms, all the terms, the kid terms out there. The hustle.
The kid terms.
Yeah,
there on our side hustles.
Yes, and put some respect on my name, Luke Wright. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, I will go first this time because I want to make you happy, Luke. I want to make you happy. Luke, this past weekend, the Washington Nationals destroyed the Mets in a 23-5 blowout. Everyone in the lineup for the Nationals scored at least once. Luke, this got me to thinking, once a team is up double digits in the MLB, can we just call the game? Can't we just call the game due to a mercy rule?
As much as I would love to say yes.
No, don't go stodgy old baseball on me, Luke.
And I normally absolutely hate when people go stodgy old baseball. I hate purists.
You're so crusty right now.
But no, I don't think we should have a mercy rule. I don't think we should have a mercy rule in any professional league. And any, golf doesn't have anything, football doesn't have anything, basketball doesn't have anything. I don't, especially, baseball, it's not a timed sport. Technically you could still score all 15 something runs you need in with the bottom of the ninth. And I mean, trust me, it's tedious, but at the same time, if you honestly think that there should be a mercy rule and that the game should just end, stop watching. You can stop watching, you can leave. No one's putting a gun to your head and saying, you have to finish this game. So just stop watching or go home early. Beat some of the traffic. There's no if you honestly think the game is already over, then just go home.
I just think that if we were to do it in your world where in the NFL somebody was up 50 points in the fourth quarter, or somebody was up 70 points in the NBA with the fourth quarter starting, I just end it. What is the point of that last thing other than commercials to get airtime? I just don't believe in it. All right, go ahead, Luke.
Okay, so we kind of just mentioned this, but Paul Pierce, we are pretty sure, has played his last career game in the NBA.
I'll put a stamp on it. Done.
Yep, he's...
Well done.
He announced it.
Fellow well met.
He will be retiring. In honor of him retiring, I've got some names I'm going to throw at you.
Yes!
Going to throw at you two different players.
Excellent.
You will have to tell me who scored more points in their career.
Okay, is this the regular season or playoffs or
This is career points.
Okay, then I got it.
Now, I did not put Paul Pierce on this list because he came in at, I want to say it was 16th all time with 26,000, a little over 26,000.
Okay, fair enough.
So the first pairing that I'm giving you, Vince Carter or Ray Allen.
That's hard. 3-pointers versus age. I'm going to go with Ray Allen. Final answer.
You would be wrong.
Old man.
Vince Carter, and I'm actually not sure if this is updated from this last playoff series, scored 24,555. Ray Allen, 24,505.
Ooh. Old man. He said he has 2 more years left.
Ooh. I believe it.
Go Vince Carter.
Okay, second pairing. You're 0-1. You're not off to a good start.
At this rate, I'm going to lose every game of the season.
Moses Malone or Patrick Ewing?
That's Moses.
Correct.
Yes.
1-1 or 1-2. Moses had over 27,400, and Patrick couldn't even break the 25,000 mark.
Oh, come on, Patrick.
Okay, we're going number 3. This one was also a somewhat close one. Hakeem Olajuwon or Tim Duncan?
Oh, it's the dream. Let's go, Hakeem.
Correct. 2 of 3. Hakeem would score 26-9. Timmy D would score 26-5.
Yes, Timmy always gave the ball up. God bless him, but he didn't get any stat love for it. Let's go.
Here we go. This first name's going to be a throwback. John Havlicek.
Ooh.
Or other Celtic great, Kevin Garnett.
Oh, but okay, so it wouldn't be necessarily. It wouldn't be just.
No,
okay,
not
so
just
then,
Celtics.
Right,
Because
because that took me. I was like, well, there's no, and then I was like, oh yeah, he played for the Timberwolves. All right, let's go with Havlicek.
You would be correct.
Yeah.
3 of 4. I thought I could have gotten you on that one. Havlicek had 26-4. Kevin Garnett 26-71.
Okay.
And then the last one. 2 of arguably the all-time greatest players in NBA history.
Let's go, LeBron and Michael.
Close. LeBron James or Shaquille O'Neal.
I would have to say it's actually probably LeBron because he's more ball dominant, so he accidentally gets more points than Shaquille would.
Accidentally gets more points than Shaquille?
Well, you know, if he's open and he has the ball already, he doesn't have to say, give me the ball, give it to him.
Is that going to be your final answer?
That will be my final answer.
Then you are correct.
Yeah.
4 of 5. LeBron James would score over 28,000, and Shaq would also score over 28,000, but he had about 200 points less.
Yeah, no, and LeBron's still climbing up that ladder. There will be a wider gap by the time LeBron is done.
LeBron will probably break. Oh, not probably. LeBron will break, barring injury, 30,000 points next year.
Yeah. Let's go, Luke. The closing night of the Tribeca Film Festival brought together the cast from 2 of the most important and influential movies ever made. The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. Have you seen it?
No.
You have never...
Never seen The Godfather.
Girl. Alright, led by the festival's co-founder Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Diane Keaton, James Caan, Robert Duvall, and Talia Shire took the stage with their director Francis Ford Coppola to look back on the iconic films after they screened back-to-back for the audience. Given some time to warm up, Pacino took command of the stage, delivering a lively retelling of his casting process, which was tortured, to put it lightly. Coppola had wanted Pacino, then known mainly for his work on the stage from the get-go, but Paramount wasn't convinced. Producer Robert Evans thought Pacino was too short, which Pacino admitted was sort of true, and he favored someone like Robert Redford, since, as Coppola pointed out, there are some fair-haired Sicilians. Luke, what is your favorite movie sequel of all time? And I brought you some suggestions because it's somewhat unfair to bring it to you right off the top of the bat, unless if you have like a Rocky 2 in your head or something. We have Captain America, The Winter Soldier, The Dark Knight, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Lord of the Rings 2 for Gary Boucher, Toy Story 2, maybe The Empire Strikes Back. What strikes your fancy?
Are we talking solely the second film, or just anything after the first?
No, it has to be the immediate follow-up.
Okay, because I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, I absolutely hate sequels.
Ooh.
9 times out of 10...
Shrek 2 didn't do anything for you?
No, Shrek 2 did not do anything for me. And normally, I feel most movie series make a comeback for that third movie.
Oh.
But typically, that second movie, I just absolutely hate.
Well, you would be wrong if you had ever seen The Godfather 2, which is better than the original.
But overall, especially, I think my favorite sequel is probably on the list you said.
Okay.
And I think I'd probably say Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Just off the top of my head, I think that's what I would go with. But like I said, I normally just absolutely hate sequels.
So, the man who hates breakfast food hates sequels.
Correct.
Do you hate puppies too?
Love puppies.
Well, there's a first, ladies and gentlemen. I'm allergic, so I can't love them as much as I would, but I love puppies.
That sounds more like a you problem, not a me problem.
Well, your problem is that you don't like breakfast. You gotta respect brunch, sir. All right, go ahead, Luke.
Okay. Also, as we mentioned this earlier in the podcast, the big three of Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen only won one title together in Boston.
True. I can verify that.
Ray Allen would eventually go on to win another with Miami. Was he there for both?
No, he was only there for one of them.
Okay. So, with Garnett retired, Pierce retired, and Allen retired, would you rather be a superstar caliber player that only won one ring in your career, or would you rather be a role player like a Steve Kerr or Big Shot Bob?
I was gonna say.
And win several, at least 3 rings in your career.
I'd like to say that I would choose the lesser, the role player. I would want to be known for winning more than anything else. Kevin Garnett, I would say more than a champion. I feel like he's validated for being a champion, by being a champion, but really, he's kind of more known for being mean, old man, pushing it around, old school mentality, right? And I would think that I would want to be known for winning. And, what is the only reason why we talk about Big Shot Rob, not Steve Kerr as much. Steve Kerr was known before then, or was known after now as like the Golden State Warriors, known as management in the Phoenix Suns. I think he's been able to parlay that success and that winning mentality, because I think it takes a lot more to win, more often than not, as a side item, and to be a true contributor as that sixth piece, as that Lamar Odom, really, than the Kobe, because while all the credit is given to you and all the blame is given to you, you still have that ability to take over games, whereas you're expected to do more within a smaller role as a 6-man or something. So I just have more respect for them. That's what I would say.
Okay.
All right, Luke. It's funny you should say The Empire Strikes Back, because May 4th, or May the 4th, for Star Wars fans, is later this week, and just last week, the new teaser trailer for the latest Star Wars episode, The Last Jedi, finally came out. Luke, do you think the next movie in the Star Wars franchise will be genuinely good, or have the major expectations heaped upon the film sink any hope, I just want to emphasize the word hope, from the movie being unique and critically acclaimed?
I think everybody who criticized The Force Awakens because it was too similar to the original trilogy is an idiot.
Ooh.
And I think that they don't deserve to have an opinion on movies.
Wow.
Because...
Strong take.
Because it's already happened. It happened with Rogue One. It happened with The Force Awakens. People are so used to all of these... They put such huge expectations on them that if literally any tiny little thing is wrong, they immediately just make the whole film out to be, oh, it's so overrated, it's not that good, and this and that, and I just think it's idiotic. I loved The Force Awakens. I saw it like 4 times in theaters. I loved Rogue One.
You're wrong there, but continue.
It was a good movie.
Awful.
No, it wasn't.
Boring.
And in general, I think the same thing's going to happen with The Last Jedi. I think it's going to be a great film that people are going to find things that are wrong with it, and they will blow those things out of proportion.
What was your thoughts on the... I don't even know how to put it. The sequel, like the original trilogy, I guess? No, that would be... The first
prequels?
3 episodes, yes, the prequels.
I didn't think they were that good, but at the same time...
I was making sure, just to see what your opinion was on it.
I enjoyed the third one.
The third one's the best out of the
The second
3.
one I like as well.
There's a lot more action in that one.
And the first one, I did not.
Snoozer. Outside of Darth Maul, done.
But yeah, overall, I love The Force Awakens. Rogue One was a good movie. It had a lot of good backstory. There were certain things that were kind of like, I'm not sure why you did that. But overall, it was good.
All right, your turn, good sir.
Okay. Now, as we sit here in an editing bay at Cronkite...
Hey, don't give away our location.
I just gave it away.
Okay.
Come say hi.
Yes. We'll bring you a muffin.
Normally, when we are here, there's a lot of other activity going around in the other editing bays. I don't know if you noticed it, but this morning there was no one.
Everybody's gone.
Everyone's gone. And everyone is gone because this is finals week here at ASU. Now, finals is always a stressful time for people, but for journalism majors, and you know this well, it's a little different.
Oh, yeah.
Because journalism majors don't have traditional finals for most of their classes. They typically have projects or stories or something they have to write, and those projects and stories are typically due the last week of actual class. Or they are due during finals week, but you don't have to be there in person.
Right.
So this entire section is empty because everyone's already done.
Right.
But that begs the question, as somebody who has just finished their junior year of college and is going into their senior year starting in the fall, and as someone who has already graduated,
as myself,
for you, what was the most tedious year of school? High school or college?
Most tedious year. Okay, so it's funny that it happens to be the same for both experiences. It's either sophomore of college or sophomore of high school, because for both of those times I had the same approach where I still had that zest for being a student and I wanted to accomplish as much as I could so that way I had the opportunity to be lazier later on through my later years. Senioritis hit hard both times. So let's go with college, because at least in high school I got to sleep, and in college for my sophomore year there was no sleep. There was overnight edit bay hours where there were even over weekend edit bay hours where I had to bring a box of Cheez-Its, 2 QT cups, and edit my project all throughout the weekend just so it was ready Monday so that way I could do it again next weekend. There were so many sleepless nights and so many misused weekends that I will always remember that as being the hardest experience of my life.
That surprises me, because for me personally, it's been junior year for both high school and college.
That's funny.
Because junior year in high school, it's like, there's no benefits. And you're so close to that last year. And then this year, this was my year for all of my late night. I remember my videography final.
Oh, yes.
I was literally
That was the worst.
I had to close at my job, which is all the way on the West Valley.
Right.
And I closed and left there at 12:30, 12:45. Had to drive all the way over to downtown.
So we're talking about somewhere around there.
Yep, because I also had to pick up something to eat at McDonald's. And then I had to sit here in this editing lab until 7 a.m. working on my project. Never went home. At that point, I didn't even sleep. I just sat in my car, tried to doze off and take some sort of nap before I then had to start class at 10 o'clock. So that was for both college and high school. Junior year was by far the most tedious and frustrating year. Granted, I do have a year left of college as well.
Yeah, that one's difficult in a different way in that you're trying to get a job post-graduating, but it's still hard because you're having to couple that along with doing that work. But I'm not jealous of you, sir. Luke, my girlfriend and I are going on a diet. We are diving into the no sugar diet, and to be honest, I already know I'm going to fail because I love Arnold Palmer's, and one key component is lemonade. So question for you, Luke, have you ever tried a diet, and do you think any of them work?
As people who know me know, I am,
he says as he clutches his heart and stomach.
Yeah. I don't think that I am morbidly obese by any means, but no. I am by no means skinny or in shape. So no, I have never actually tried a official diet. You know, there have been times where I have said, "Hey, maybe I should stop eating fast food," and I'll lay off soda or I'll lay off fast food for an extended period of time. But I never went on any sort of like official diet.
It's just you yourself saying, You know what? I'm feeling really bloated because of this Coke. I'm kind of done for the weekend.
Essentially.
Okay.
I mean, I think the longest I went without soda was 1.5 years.
Okay. What'd you drink in place?
I drank mostly just water.
That's good.
It was just water. It made me lose maybe 5 pounds over the whole year.
Well, but I mean, still, that's a start.
It is. It was like I've also known people who stop drinking soda for like 2 months and they lose like 20 pounds. I'm just like, how does this work?
Different people, different things.
In general, I think diets work, especially if you go on if you actually stick to an official diet, you know, and you're eating right, you're getting the right types of fats, and you're eating the right amount of calories for what your lifestyle is. I do think it works.
I think it also depends because everybody has their vice. Like for me, I'm not. For my girlfriend, she loves sweets. She is a human piñata. She will eat any and all types of candy. I'm not that way. I'm more starch. I will go to Pizza Hut, get a thing of cheese pizza, the like drive-through stuff, and I will go and get breadsticks. I love pasta. I'm so Italian.
Pasta's delicious.
Yeah, and I will eat any form of macaroni and cheese you give me. So that's really where I need to take up my game and eat a little healthier. But I think, you know, if you drink soda like 5 gallons a day and you only do water from then on, I think that could really see benefits. It depends on the person. Your turn.
Okay, so the whole NFL draft is now over.
Finito.
We've all had all 7 rounds. It's done. We have to wait a whole another year before we get this kind of fun again. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure if we'll ever have a more entertaining draft.
That was
at least not for a while.
Trades definitely up the draft, and usually they don't happen on draft night. Fantastic draft.
It's great. Now that the whole draft is over, who do you think won the draft?
Who do I think won the draft? It's very hard because some teams, they got players that they don't necessarily need, but they're great players. See the Jets getting like 3 safeties in their first 3 picks, which if you look at each safety, you're like, wow, that's a great pick, but then it kind of defeats the former pick, you know? Or if you look at the Broncos, you know, it's not a very sexy draft that they had, but, you know, even with their last pick, the Mr. Irrelevant pick of the whole entire draft, they got that QB out of Mississippi, Ole Miss, you know, and it certainly serves a need. But if you're putting me on the spot here and I'm just having to think out loud, I would definitely say that the Bears lost it. Whereas I think it's just too early for the Browns. I would need to see how that all goes. I'm going to stick with the 49ers.
You're going 49ers.
I'm going 49ers. They have the centerpiece, definite pieces ready to pull a Deshaun Watson tank job and then be perfect. They set themselves up to have the surrounding pieces, yet still be bad enough to be getting that first overall pick next year, to where it will all culminate by next year.
Okay.
So I'm going to go 49ers.
I would have gone Cleveland Browns, but I understand. I
just don't try. If they make a decision, then I think that it's proof that it was not the right decision.
That's rude.
It's true. God bless you, Ohio, but all you know is pain. My last question for you, Luke. GQ has a recent article out arguing that we should all be paying more attention to the movie studio Laika, spelled Laika. Laika is a relatively young studio with only 3 features to its name: Coraline, Paranorman, and the Box Trolls. Kubo and the Two Strings is the latest movie from Laika, a studio that specializes in the painstaking process of stop-motion animation to tell moody and enchanting stories that are incredible to look at, with stories and imagery just a smidge darker than your average Pixar movie. Luke, do you think Disney will ever fall and lose its status as the fairy tale creator extraordinaire?
No.
Oh, fast? That's probably the fastest give me 5 answer you've ever given me.
Because here's the thing. If Disney feels like Laika, is that how you pronounce Laika?
It's Laika.
Okay, well...
Yo Laika, oh Laika.
Wow.
Biker.
But if Disney does feel like they are ever truly a threat, they'll just buy them.
Ooh, that is cynical, sir.
But that's how it works.
That they're so big now that they've taken in so much that they're now the biggest amoeba out there.
They'll just buy them.
Absorb them.
If it's that big of a deal, they'll just buy them.
It's insane how much credibility Disneyland and Disney World has given Disney as an entire company, because we probably both have friends who have gone to the Disney program or what have you. I mean, and I've heard stories of the regulations and the rules that they put upon those employees. They do not. It isn't. They monitor your social media statuses to make sure that you're not even putting out there, "Hey, I was Mickey Mouse for the day." No, they will. If you have to put Mickey as a third person, even though you're inside the costume, they're like, "Hey, Mickey had a good day today," and everybody's like, "I wonder where I was." Like you cannot allude to you can't barely even allude to the fact that you were Mickey for the day. It's crazy.
And that's just one of those things. Like, Disney doesn't need to worry about it, because Disney will buy anything they feel they need to buy.
And they have a good infrastructure.
So I'm not worried. I don't think Disney should be worried. They'll never lose that spot at this point.
Marrying 2, give me 5 questions from my side today. They bought, I believe, Star Wars for, what was it?
They bought Lucasfilms and Star Wars for like $3.6 billion.
Yeah. Is there any doubt that they're making that back?
I'm pretty sure they've already made it back.
I'm sure. With even just A New Hope.
Yeah.
I think that they made it back in twofold. And now, especially with they have a Boba Fett movie coming out, a Han Solo movie.
They haven't confirmed the third standalone. Han Solo's coming out
for sure. We don't know what the
don't know the last. Yeah, we don't know.
It might be Yoda.
I've heard Yoda. I have heard Boba Fett. I have heard that a lot of people want an Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah,
I would love to see Ewan McGregor in an Obi-Wan movie.
Is he that? I think he's too old now, though, right? To be like the original guy. No,
they could.
They bearded him up, and then
there's like a 20-year span between the third and the fourth. That's Obi-Wan. Oh, so that's Obi-Wan territory.
Oh, I thought you were thinking of a prequel even before even let's say episode 1.
Oh, like when he's still a Padawan?
Yeah.
I mean, no, you probably couldn't get Ewan McGregor for that. But at the same time,
it depends what time they want to go.
But I think they could even get one like when Anakin was growing up.
Oh yeah, like him teaching.
I don't know for sure if they would, because they've already done a lot with like Clone Wars and stuff. They might have.
They don't want to.
They might not want to keep going any more back, but they could definitely go forward. So those are the standalone ones that I think that they could do.
Fair enough. Did you have any more?
Yes, I had one
more to your name, sir.
So there were 2 drafts that went on this last weekend.
Were there?
Yes. One, as we all know by now, was the NFL draft.
Of course.
But
God bless you.
2, and it's very underrated, was the Big 3 draft.
The Big 3 draft?
Have you heard of the Big 3
I can honestly say I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
So the Big 3 is another basketball league.
Uh-huh.
And it's a basketball league I want to say is actually supported by Ice Cube and a few other big name.
Oh, you gotta tell me Snoop Dogg's a part of this.
He might be, I'm not 100%.
Okay.
But it is a league that takes older players who are past their prime and aren't playing in the NBA anymore.
Okay.
And they play 3-on-3.
Well, of course they have to be past their prime. Okay.
And it has players such as Allen Iverson, Chauncey Billups, Kwame Brown is there. You basically get 5-man rosters, and the games themselves are 3-on-3. And they had their draft recently.
Oh, 5-man. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. And, they have some player coaches that are part of it. It's going to be, I think, really fun and entertaining. But my question to you, and now that you know
what the Big 3
is, will you be watching any Big 3 games?
100% I will not be watching.
Wow.
As much as I would love to see old men jump as far as they can upwards, just watching them gingerly rub their knees with aloe vera or whatever lotion to get those joint pains out.
You don't think any of them could?
No, there's absolutely no shot. Especially Allen Iverson. Now, God bless him, but there's no way.
Allen Iverson's game might be one of the best to translate.
Oh my! No, are you kidding me? How physical he was? I would trust.
That's how he was towards the bulk, but towards the end of his career, he started shooting. He was passing more.
If I was in that league, my number one overall pick would be Ray Allen. Because his
I don't know if he
well, of course,
put his name in for it.
But if he was in there,
you don't think Chauncey Billups could still play?
He was in.
Have you not seen Chauncey Billups? He's in great shape.
I just don't.
He's in great shape, and his game definitely translates well to old man 3-on-3.
That's the closest that you've gotten to me to actually thinking a player could play. I mean, even when you see somebody like Vince Carter playing up into his 40s and saying, I've got 2 more years left.
You don't think that Vince Carter has 2 more years left?
He's old, man. He is so old, and he's taking that nice cushy sports analyst job. I just won't watch it just out of pure. I mean, if trust me, if they were able to do this now with current NBA stars, heck yeah, I'd watch LeBron. Let's see, they would need a center, Boogie, and they would need somebody as a point, Isaiah Thomas. I would watch that team against Steph, Marc Gasol, and
well, this changed your mind then.
Paul George or something.
Mike Bibby, Brian Scalabrine, Josh Childress, Jermaine O'Neal, Corey Maggette, Deshaun Stevenson, Steven Jackson, Mo Evans, Ivan Johnson.
You tell me when I'm supposed to be impressed, okay?
How are you not impressed by Steven Jackson?
I will play your little game. Steve Jackson? Are you kidding me? That guy has come out in so many recent editions of bad stories. It's ridiculous.
Player coach Charles Oakley.
Player court. Of course he would. Of course he would be a player coach. Oh, the nerve. The absolute nerve.
Rick Barry will be coaching a team.
Are we even sure Charles Oakley won't be the only person on that team because he will knock everybody else out on his team during practice?
He might. Honestly, these are just the coaches. And I think these are pretty good coaches. Some of these coaches, it looks like they will also be playing. Allen Iverson.
Of course
Gary Payton.
All right, team. We're going to gather up and...
George Gervin. Rick Barry. Dr. J.
Dr. J?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm not watching it for
Clyde
sure.
Drexler.
Are you kidding me?
Charles Oakley.
Get out of here.
Rick Mahorn.
Get out of here. They're going to go up for a layup, come down, and bust a kneecap. I'm so done.
I don't think Dr. J is one-on-ones playing. I think he's just coaching.
He better be, because if he's playing, they need to get some good insurance up there and have him sign a waiver.
That would be so amazing.
If he broke a leg...
Yeah, Ice Cube is in fact involved.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, maybe he can sponsor an ice sheet and just have ice for all the players.
It is 8 teams, half court, 3-on-3, 10-week season, starts June 25th.
They're gonna have so many players on IR, it's not even funny.
I think that you really underestimate how athletic some of these guys are.
I'll tell you what, if you can somehow get me a clip, I don't even want a full video, I just want to see a clip of the championship game, and I'm impressed, I will bow to you, sir.
The games will be broadcast on the following night on Fox Sports 1.
I lost a little respect for Fox Sports 1, to be completely honest there. Alright, well, on that sour note, as I look towards my grapes that I have next to me and think of the sour grapes analogy that I missed out on, that does it for us. I'm going to now skedaddle over and get in a good version with Gary, who we saw the circle, and I will be honest with you, a big hullabaloo about nothing. So
I could have told you that.
You could have told me that.
I hate those kind of movies, so...
Those kind of... What do you mean, those kind of movies?
Those kind of movies with the all-powerful and all-knowing corporations that try to be subtle in the background, and that one company employee, and she has an insider, and they team up together to try to bring the company down because they feel like what they're doing is immoral and unethical.
You know what, Luke? You can't give away my whole spiel for the first half of the podcast.
Was that the entire movie?
Well, we'll have to see for next episode with Luke. And you know what?
With Luke.
Not with Luke. Well, I'm so attuned to you giving away my review. I might as well just cut and edit and copy and paste.
Might as well.
All right. For Luke and for me, Philip Amerine, this has been Chopped Greens. We will see you in the next episode with The Circle featuring Gary Boucher. See you soon.